She always wanted to know how much I loved her, how far I'd go to prove it. "Let's break up," she'd whisper, almost playfully, after the smallest disagreement. Sometimes it was because I didn't text back fast enough. Sometimes, just because I looked too long at a waitress. At first, I thought it was just her way of needing comfort. Reassurance. She wanted to feel irreplaceable. Loved beyond logic. So I gave her what she wanted. Every single time. I'd cancel meetings, fly across states, stand outside her apartment in the pouring rain just to say, "I'm not going anywhere, Maddie." And every time, she'd let me back in with that sly, satisfied smile, as if she'd just won a game only she knew we were playing. But what happens when the game stops being fun? I don't know the exact moment the love started to rot. Maybe it was the 5th time she called me pathetic for begging. Maybe it was when I saw her laughing with that guy from her gym. Then turned to me and said, "Why can't you be more like him?" Or maybe it was the night I begged her not to leave, and she smiled like it meant nothing, like I meant nothing. So when she said it again, "Let's break up," I didn't respond. I just stood up, walked to the door, and left without a word. No begging. No crying. No fight. I didn't know it then, but that silence would break her more than my pleas ever could. And for the first time in years, I wasn't afraid of losing her. Her name was Madeline Carter, but everyone called her Maddie. The first time I saw her, she was standing barefoot in the middle of a bookstore, flipping through a copy of Wuthering Heights, mouthing the words like she was reciting a secret to herself. She looked up, caught me staring, and smiled like she'd caught me doing something sinful. She was that kind of girl, bold, magnetic, a little dangerous. We met in our senior year at Arizona State. I was majoring in business, all clean lines and schedules. She was studying literature, chaos wrapped in perfume and eyeliner. She once told me I was her safe place, and I believed her. God, I wanted to believe her. In the beginning, it was electric. Maddie had this way of making the world feel alive. Every kiss was a high, every fight a wildfire. But somewhere between our late-night talks and shared dreams, the cracks started to show. Maddie liked control. She thrived on it. And I, too willing, too eager to please, let her take the reins without realizing how much of myself I was handing over. It started small. She'd test me, say things like, "If you really loved me, you'd skip that meeting," or "You're too close to your female coworker." I told myself it was passion. That all great love stories were messy. But it wasn't love, it was domination, dressed in affection. She'd break up with me like it was a joke. A routine. "Let's break up," she'd say, then watch my reaction like a scientist watching a lab rat. And I played my part. Begging, pleading, proving. Over and over again. I gave up job offers to stay in her city. Lost friends who said she was toxic. Even distanced myself from my sister, Hannah, who once sat me down and said, "You don't look happy, Ethan. You look drained." But I couldn't see it then. Or maybe I didn't want to. Because for all the emotional whiplash, Maddie had this way of making you feel like you were the only person who mattered, when it suited her. Her touch could undo 1,000 doubts. Her tears, always so perfectly timed, made me feel guilty for even thinking of leaving. And I loved her. Desperately. That's the truth I'm not proud of. She once told me, "I want to be loved like I'm the air you breathe, something you can't live without." I didn't realize she meant it literally. It took me years to see that what we had wasn't romance. It was an emotional chokehold. And the more I gave, the more she needed to test how far I'd go. Until the day I didn't go any further. It happened on a Tuesday evening. One of those quiet, ordinary nights that betray no hint of what's coming. I'd just gotten home from work, exhausted from back-to-back meetings. My promotion to regional manager was nearly in reach. I was finally carving out something for myself, something solid. But the second I stepped through the door, I knew Maddie was in one of those moods. She was curled up on the couch, scrolling through her phone, glass of wine half full. The TV was on but muted, casting flickering lights across her face. She didn't look up. "You didn't answer my text," she said coolly, still staring at the screen. "I was in a strategy meeting," I replied, slipping off my shoes. "I told you that this morning." She shrugged. "I guess I just assumed I mattered more than your job." That old familiar tension gripped my chest. I walked over, leaned down to kiss her, but she pulled away. And then she said it. Again. "Let's break up." Her tone was light. Casual. Like ordering takeout or tossing a coin. It was the 7th time she'd said it in 2 months. I stood there, waiting, because there was always a pause. A beat where she expected me to say, "Don't do this," or, "Please, Maddie, don't go." I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. Something inside me shifted. I thought of the last 4 years, every time I canceled plans to appease her, every lost friendship, every apology for simply breathing wrong. I thought of the way she made me feel small just to watch me scramble back to her. And in that moment, something cracked. I turned away, walked to the bedroom, packed a small bag, just enough for a few nights at my friend Jordan's place. When I came back out, she looked confused. Her brows furrowed like she couldn't quite process what was happening. "You're leaving?" I nodded. "You said we should break up. So let's break up." She blinked. "You're not going to say anything? You're really just walking away?" I looked at her then, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't see the girl I fell in love with. I saw a mirror reflecting all the damage I'd let happen. And I walked out the door. Jordan raised an eyebrow when he opened the door and saw me standing there with an overnight bag and hollow eyes. "Let me guess," he said, stepping aside. "Another Maddie storm?" I managed a weak smile. "Kind of. But this time, I think the hurricane passed. And I didn't chase it." Jordan clapped me on the back as I walked in. "Well, damn. About time." The first night away from her was disorienting. I kept expecting my phone to light up with her name, her usual tricks, dramatic texts, guilt-laced voice notes, maybe even an Instagram story designed to provoke jealousy. But it stayed quiet. The silence was deafening. I didn't sleep much. I kept staring at the ceiling, retracing every moment, asking myself how I'd let things go this far. Love wasn't supposed to hurt like this. Love wasn't supposed to leave you feeling like less of yourself. By morning, I had 10 unread messages. "Maddie. You're overreacting. You didn't even give me a chance to explain. You always do this, run when things get tough. You'll regret this." I didn't reply. 2 days passed. Then 3. I went to work. Jordan and I played Xbox at night. I got a full 8 hours of sleep for the first time in months. It was strange, how peace felt foreign after so long under her shadow. Then, on the 4th day, she showed up. I was just stepping out of a client lunch when I saw her leaning against my car. Sunglasses on. Arms crossed. That same magnetic confidence in her stance, like she owned the street beneath her. "You're ignoring me now," she said, her voice sharp. "That's mature." "I'm not ignoring you," I said calmly. "I just don't have anything left to say." She laughed, but it was hollow. "Oh, come on, Ethan. You're really going to throw everything away over one stupid argument?" "It wasn't one," I replied. "It was hundreds." Her smile faltered. She stepped closer. "I didn't mean it, you know. When I said we should break up. I never do. That's just how I express myself." I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't feel the pull I always did. No magnetic force. No desperate urge to fix things. You say it to test me, I said. To see if I'll chase you. But I'm tired of chasing, Maddie. I'm tired of feeling like I'm never enough. She flinched. We can fix this, she said quickly. I'll stop saying it. I swear. No, I said, my voice low. Because I don't trust that anymore. She stepped back, eyes glassy. I never thought you'd actually leave. And there it was, the truth. She never believed I'd find the strength to walk away. That night, she called me 3 times. Left voicemails, each more emotional than the last. Her voice cracked on the second one. She was crying by the third. It hurt. Of course it did. But there was something else, relief. For once, I didn't feel like I had to rescue her from her own chaos. Instead, I started rescuing myself. The days turned into a week. Then 10 days. I moved into a short-term rental near work. I told my boss I was ready to take on more responsibility. I started reconnecting with friends I hadn't seen in years. My sister, Hannah, cried when I finally answered her call. You sound different, she said softly. Like you're finally breathing. And I was. But Maddie wasn't done. She showed up at my new place one night, mascara streaked, holding a box of all the things I'd ever given her, concert tickets, notes, a watch I bought her for her birthday. I miss you, she whispered. I don't know who I am without you. My chest tightened. Not from longing, but from guilt. Because I realized she didn't miss me. She missed having someone to manipulate. Someone who would orbit around her, no matter how far she pushed. I'm sorry, I said. But I can't be that person anymore. She stared at me like I'd betrayed her. I never thought you'd be the one to give up on us. I didn't give up, I said. I finally woke up. She didn't cry this time. She just turned and left. And as the door clicked shut behind her, I realized something terrifying. She wasn't going to let go that easily. It was a Wednesday afternoon when Jordan walked into my office, holding his phone with a grim look on his face. Dude, he said, setting it on my desk, screen facing up. You need to see this. It was Maddie's Instagram story. She'd posted a photo of herself in a dimly lit restaurant, candles, wine, her hand clasped tightly in someone else's. The caption? Healing, finally. I stared at it, not because I was jealous, but because the hand holding hers. I recognized it. It was Jason. My coworker. The same guy who'd always ask too many questions about Maddie whenever we went out after work. The same guy who accidentally liked her photos and once said, asterisk, your girl's intense, man. Bet the fights are worth the makeup. Something inside me went ice cold. Suddenly, things clicked. That gym guy she used to joke about. The nights she claimed she was just out with the girls. Her tendency to stir up fights right before she vanished for hours. I'd spent years blaming myself, thinking if I were more attentive, more romantic, more everything, she wouldn't need to test my love so often. But now I saw it for what it was, projection. Guilt. She wanted control because she had something to hide. All those breakups weren't just manipulation, they were cover-ups. Distractions. Opportunities to push me away while she dipped her toes into someone else's attention. And every time I begged her to stay, I played right into her game. I wasn't her partner. I was her safety net. And the second I stepped away, she ran straight to the next one. That was the moment I stopped grieving her. And started realizing she never deserved the love I gave so freely. I didn't reach out. Not even after seeing Maddie's hand wrapped around Jason's. I told myself I was done, that the truth had finally unshackled me. But lies don't leave scars so easily. They burrow. They itch. They whisper at 2 a.m. That night, I sat in my apartment, scrolling through old photos. Maddie laughing, hugging me from behind, sipping coffee in my hoodie. All those moments felt real at the time. But now, each smile looked more like a performance, a carefully choreographed act to keep me hooked. I deleted every picture. Still, she didn't stop. 2 days later, she sent me a message, "I'm sorry if I hurt you. I wasn't ready to lose you." I didn't respond. The next day, another, "I made a mistake. He doesn't mean anything. Please, can we talk?" That one made me laugh. A bitter, almost hysterical laugh. Not because it was funny, but because I had said those words to her so many times, and now she was tasting them for the first time. But it didn't end there. Later that week, I found Maddie sitting on the hood of my car in the parking garage at work. She wore that old leather jacket I once gave her and a look that tried to be soft, but couldn't quite mask her frustration. "Why are you doing this, Ethan?" she asked, arms crossed. I didn't answer right away. I looked at her, studied the desperation in her eyes, the trembling lip she used like a weapon. "You're not used to people walking away, are you?" I said finally. She frowned. "No. I'm not used to you walking away." I nodded. "Exactly." She stepped closer. "You're punishing me. I get it. I messed up. But you're no saint, Ethan. You always said you'd fight for me. And now you're just done." "No," I said calmly. "I always said I'd fight with you, not for you. There's a difference. But you were never fighting for us, Maddie. You were fighting for control." Her mouth opened, then closed. She followed me to the elevator, trying to plead her case. She cried, loudly. It drew stares from co-workers, and I saw Jason watching from across the lobby. Good. Let them see. That night, she sent another string of messages, this time angrier. "You're cold. You're heartless. I can't believe I ever loved you. You're just like your dad. A coward. I hope she cheats on you too someday. Then you'll understand." She'd never spoken about my father before, not directly. But she knew what his betrayal had done to me. That line was calculated. Cruel. And it worked. I broke my silence. "You're right, Maddie," I replied. "You never loved me. You just loved being adored." She didn't reply for 2 days. When she finally did, it was different. A simple message, "I miss you. Can we talk? Please." No threats. No blame. Just a flicker of vulnerability. I didn't trust it. But I agreed to meet. We sat across from each other at a cafe we used to frequent. Her hair was pulled back, no makeup, eyes tired. "You look different," I said. "So do you," she whispered. "Stronger." I sipped my coffee and waited. "I've been in therapy," she began. "Trying to figure out why I push people away. Why I test them." I nodded. "That's good. I think I'm afraid," she continued. "Of not being loved. Of being abandoned. So I create distance before someone else does it first." I let that sink in. "And Jason?" She looked away. "He was nothing. Just a distraction. I thought you were slipping away. I didn't know how to stop it." I studied her face. For once, there was no mask. No coy tilt of her head or dramatic pause for effect. Just rawness. "I did love you," she said. "In my own broken way." "That's the problem," I said. "You thought love meant breaking someone down just to see if they'd rebuild themselves for you." She didn't argue. "I don't hate you, Maddie," I added. "I just can't be that person for you anymore." Tears filled her eyes, but she blinked them back. So this is really it? I stood, placed some cash on the table. This isn't punishment. It's peace. She didn't follow me out. That was the real shock. She let me go. But it didn't end there. 2 weeks later, I was offered the promotion, regional manager. New office. New city. A fresh start. I accepted without hesitation. On my last night in town, I stopped by the lake where Maddie and I had our first date. Not to mourn, but to close the door properly. I stood by the water, watching the reflection of the stars ripple in the wind. Behind me, footsteps crunched on the gravel. I turned. It was Maddie. Of course it was. I had to see you one last time, she said quietly. Why? I asked. What's left to say? She stepped closer. Nothing. I just needed to know if it still hurt. I stared at her. It doesn't. And then I walked away. She didn't follow. I was 3 months into my new position in Denver when I got the call. It was from Hannah, my sister. You might want to sit down, she said gently. It's about Maddie. My chest tightened instantly. She showed up at Mom's house, she continued. Uninvited. She looked off. Said she needed to talk to you. Said it was urgent. What the hell? I muttered, already grabbing my coat. Did Mom call the police? No. She left on her own. But Ethan, she's unraveling. I hadn't heard from Maddie in nearly 10 weeks. No calls. No texts. No surprise appearances. I had assumed she had finally let go. Moved on. But Maddie never really let go, she just waited for a new strategy. That night, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring. Then again. And again. By the 4th call, I answered. Ethan. Just her voice, quiet, hoarse, was enough to stop me cold. I need to see you, she said. Please. I'm in Denver. I'm parked outside your apartment. I looked out the window. There she was. Same car. Same leather jacket. But something was different. Her eyes looked hollow. Sunken. She hadn't slept. I could tell from here. Against my better judgment, I buzzed her in. She didn't wait. She stormed in like she still belonged there, pacing, biting her nails. I lost my job, she blurted out. Jason. He dumped me. Said I was emotionally unstable. Said I used him to get back at you. I said nothing. My apartment's in foreclosure, she went on, laughing bitterly. Turns out, you were the one holding everything together all along. Who knew? I crossed my arms, leaning against the counter. What do you want, Maddie? She paused. Then walked toward me, slowly. You, she said. I want us back. I want to fix things. I'll go to therapy. I'll change. Please, Ethan, I'm not okay without you. There it was, the most dangerous thing she could say. I'm not okay without you. Because that wasn't love. That was dependence. Fear. Manipulation disguised as desperation. I took a step back. Maddie. I'm sorry you're going through this. But I'm not your fix. I'm not your safety net anymore. Her lips trembled. You don't love me anymore? I hesitated. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I wanted to say it in the most honest way possible. I think I loved a version of you, I said. The version I thought I could save. The one who would eventually choose me back. She broke down. Fell to her knees. It was the ugliest kind of crying, the kind that comes from finally realizing the consequences were real. I didn't rush to her. I didn't kneel down and cradle her like I used to. I stood still. Because this time, I wasn't playing her game. I begged you, I said quietly. So many times. I gave everything. And you tossed it away like it was nothing. I didn't mean to, she sobbed. I was scared. I was scared too, I whispered. But I stayed. And you broke me anyway. She looked up at me, red-faced and shaking. Can't we start over? No, I said gently. Because if we do, I'll lose myself again. And I just found him. That was the final blow. Not yelled. Not screamed. Just truth. She stood up slowly, wiped her face with the back of her hand. You know what hurts the most, she whispered. You begged me 1,000 times to stay. And now that I finally want to, you won't even consider it. I met her gaze. Exactly. She nodded, walked to the door, and opened it halfway. Then she turned. You'll regret this someday. Maybe, I said. But at least I'll regret it as a man who stood up for himself. She didn't slam the door. She didn't shout. She just left. That was the real ending. Not with a bang. But with silence. And this time, I didn't chase it. Some people think closure comes in a single moment, a dramatic goodbye, a sudden realization, or a clean break. But for me, closure came slowly. In the quiet mornings when I woke up without checking my phone for her messages. In the way my apartment started to feel like a home, not a hiding place. In the simple peace of sitting with myself and not feeling like I had to prove anything to anyone. It's strange how much energy I once poured into someone who only loved me conditionally. Maddie didn't love me for who I was, she loved me for how much I loved her. The more I gave, the more she demanded. And the moment I needed love back, she pulled away. It wasn't until I stopped feeding that pattern that I saw it for what it was, emotional starvation wrapped in romantic theatrics. There was no grand revenge. No social media fallout or dramatic exposé. Just time passing, and me rebuilding myself one choice at a time. I started seeing a therapist, not because of her, but because I realized how long I'd neglected my own voice. I talked about the little boy in me who grew up watching his father walk out, and how that shaped a man desperate not to be left behind. Turns out, my real issue wasn't Maddie. It was my fear of being abandoned. She just knew how to twist it like a knife. I reconnected with my sister, Hannah. We went hiking again, like we used to before I met Maddie. She told me she was proud of me. That hit harder than any apology Maddie ever offered. And eventually, something unexpected happened. I met someone. Not someone who swept in with fireworks or emotional chaos, but someone kind. Quiet. Steady. Her name is Grace. She listens without judgment. She doesn't test me. She doesn't keep score. With her, I don't have to beg to be loved. That's when I knew I had really healed, when love started to feel like peace instead of survival. Sometimes I wonder what happened to Maddie. Last I heard, she moved back to California. A friend said she started a blog about self-growth and heartbreak. Maybe she finally faced her own demons. Maybe not. But that's no longer my burden to carry. I don't hate her. I don't love her either. What I feel is distance. The kind of distance that only clarity brings. And maybe that's what real closure is, when the person who once held all your power becomes just another chapter in a story you've already outgrown. She used to say, let's break up, just to see how far I'd go to keep her. And I went far. Too far. I begged. I compromised. I lost pieces of myself each time I tried to convince her that I was worth loving. But in the end, it wasn't the begging that saved me. It was the moment I finally stood still. That silence, the one she didn't expect, wasn't just a refusal to play her game. It was me stepping back into my own skin. Into my own worth. People talk a lot about heartbreak, about the pain of losing someone you love. But what they don't talk about enough is the power in choosing yourself, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. I used to think love was about holding on. Fighting. Sacrificing. Now I know, real love doesn't ask you to bleed just to prove you're alive. Real love feels like stillness. It feels like breath, not suffocation. It feels like being seen, not tested. And maybe Maddie and I were meant to cross paths for that very reason, to break me open, so I could finally learn how to put myself back together. The boy who once begged her to stay. He's gone. And in his place stands a man who knows what love is, and more importantly, what it isn't. So when people ask me if I ever think about her, I say yes. Not with longing. But with gratitude. Because it took losing her to finally find myself. And this time, I'm not letting me go.